everybody, and welcome to Hampshire Outdoors and Survival. Today I'm at Hankley Common and I'm going up to explore the Atlantic Wall. Show you guys a bit of that. It's a fantastic piece of history. The area I'm walking through here is Hankley Common, and during the Second World War predominantly had Canadian troops based here prior to the invasion, or prior to D-Day. What else can I say? Hankley Common is still a military training area, still used by the MOD, so there are occasions when it's shut. It's also famous for filming, so a lot of film companies have hired it out over the years. It's been in a lot of the James Bond movies and a lot of other action films. I'm not going to list them all here, half of them I've never even heard of. So I'm going to take my walk up Hankley Common, or through Hankley Common to the Atlantic Wall. Hopefully you enjoy it. You will hear me puffing and blowing, because it's quite hilly and it's sand, and it's a very soft sand, so it can make walking a little bit of a schlep. If we're really lucky, we might find some of the local invertebrates and reptiles. And all over the area here you will find 556 blank in the paths. Yeah, military training area, bad squaddies not picking up their blank after themselves. You should always clear it up after the exercise, guys. It ends up in tyres. But realistically, it's a sandy environment. You're never going to find every single case. Do what you can. I remember chasing guys up for that years ago. Oh, you've not cleared your area up properly. There's debris all over the place. So, again, it's one of the responsibilities of using these areas. Now, I'm not going to be making a brew up here today, because as you can see from the trees, this used to be quite nicely forested, and a few years back somehow a fire was caused and it ripped through the area and did an immense amount of damage. Luckily enough, the fire brigade was good. They managed to use things like these tracks as brakes. They managed to get vehicles in here, and so this side you can see an outward devastation, but just the other side of the track, that's what it used to look like. And you can sort of tell looking up there. So it's quite interesting to see this perspective between what happens, you know. It's and again, nature comes back quite quickly. She does recover, and in some cases things like the heather and that actually require, oh, found another one. Oh, range officer would be furious. And again, if you are out on training areas, if you're out on military facilities, do not touch anything. Okay, you don't know if something has been placed there as part of an exercise. You don't know if it's pyrotechnic. You don't know if it's explosive. You have no idea. I, on the other hand, do have a bit of experience, and I've also been to see the unit that is exercising on this area over the next few days, and said to them, do you mind me filming in that area? Have you got anything laid out up there? Is there anything I need to know about that I might bump into? At which point they've said, no, carry on Mickey, be good. So I've done my little bit of research, but again, if I found something up here that was suspicious, I would leave it alone. I might mark it, make a phone call, get somebody to come and look at it, but again, don't touch stuff. Now those casings I'm picking up, the reason I'm picking those up is you can see the track here, and that track's used by vehicles all the time, whether it be the range staff, wardens, or the emergency services. And blank casings have a very, very nasty habit of piercing tyres and getting stuck in them. I've had numerous ones over the years. So if I do see a blank in the trackway, I tend to pick it up and just chuck it to one side. Again, I wouldn't advise you to just go around picking up military kit. Get you hurt. The year was 1943, and a Frenchman, Monsieur Ww2, and I hope I'm saying that name correctly, of the Khan resistance, managed to infiltrate the German construction offices for their defences along the French coast. We say French coast, run all the way from Norway all the way down to the coast of Spain. And this defences we knew was being built, but we didn't know how well, how thick, how high, or what it was even constructed of. However, Rene managed to get the information out via the Khan resistance to back to the Allies, and that led to the building of 5 walls around the UK that exactly mimicked the German defences on the French coast, so that we could train and prepare and know how to breach them. Now this area here is Hankley Common in Surrey, and this Atlantic wall stretch here was built for the Canadians and by the Canadians. Okay, they constructed this here for their training, and all around this area you don't just have the wall, but you would have had the railway track, like you see on the films and the recordings of the beaches, as defences crossed. There was barbed wire. They pretty much set everything up so that they could train for those moments of leaving the landing craft and hitting this wall. Okay, so this wall, 3.5 metres across its base, and it is a good 3.5 metres tall. The construction was a lime concrete, okay, over reinforced steel, and the reinforced steel was between 10 and 20 millimeters thick in a box construction. Okay, I'll show an image of that in a bit. It's 100 meters long, and in the center, long gone now, was an exact replica of the steel gates that were used to secure and allow access in and out of the Atlantic wall. Unfortunately, that's long gone, but there are 2 breaches in this wall. Okay, now these breaches were made by Sherman tanks, and these were Sherman tanks developed by Major Hobart, and were known as the Hobart Funnies. There's lots of information out there, lots of development on bits of equipment that he came up with based on tanks. Now this particular funny that was used here and then used on the beaches was a tank designed with, if you imagine like a grader blade on the front, but instead of it having a fixed blade, had a huge demolition charge, and it was a massive charge. This charge was designed to blast through this concrete, cutting the concrete and the steel. Tons and tons and tons of energy would have been required to push that through and make a clear opening, not just for troops on foot, but vehicles, other armour and vehicles to follow up. So basically the poor driver would drive his tank up to the wall. All the incoming fire from the German positions would stop against the wall and place this charge, this huge explosive demolition charge, in place, detach it from his tank, and he would back up 100 meters, playing out a cable as he went. Once he got back to 100 meters, he would hit the firing button and the charge would go off, breaching the wall. And I will show you in a second, there's evidence of the 2 breaches here, which I know were made by Hobart's Funnies to practice another plane. So some of the remnants from the training that went on up here in preparation for attacking the wall was looking at things like the cage work that was used to reinforce the concrete. And here we have an example that's been left, and all around here we also have examples of blocks of concrete that were reinforced, that they'd practiced trying different explosives and techniques to get past. even have a grey squirrel out there. So you can see here where charges would have been placed against the wall to see what the impact and the effect would have been of the demolition charges, to see if we could demolish the wall that way. And the same here. So all along here you've seen where various explosive devices would have been tried to see if we could defeat the wall, and some of them to great effect, but didn't penetrate enough. The German steel reinforcement did its job. You can see also where some charges were dug into the base to see if they could undermine it. Here's one of the breaches made by one of the Hobart's funnies. That must have made a hell of a bang. And here we can see where other charges would have been placed at the bottom, and they've blown out the base, but they've not taken it out high enough up to cause a breach. This is the location where the huge steel gates would have been. I'd love to have seen those. By all accounts, they were massive steel gates, so pretty much it was almost as indestructible as the concrete each side. And then we have another breach there, which was made by another one of the Hobart's funnies. So, as you can imagine, this would have been a hell of a thing to deal with. So what of it now? This wall, this monolith that stands in silent testimony to the hard work, effort, bravery of so many people, whether they be the soldiers on the beaches, the resistance guys getting the information, or the guys that actually built it here, came up with the ideas, the methods, Hobart's funnies, the explosives, how they were going to bypass the wall. Because if this wall hadn't been bypassed on the French coast, thousands more would have died. And today it stands here, and it still does an amazing job. No longer is it an item of defence, no longer really is it a historical piece. People walk past it every day walking their dogs and don't even know what it's doing, what it's there for. But today it is protected, and it is protected for a special reason. This heathland is acid soil. The ground here, the plants here, all require an acid soil loam to exist and live. This small island is alkaline. The lime concrete that it was built with has allowed alkaline loving plants, lichens, mosses, ferns, to gather and grow upon it. It has become an island within an area of acid soil. And it's an amazing little place. As I walk around it and I see the ferns and I see the mosses and I see the lichens, I often wonder, how did they get here? Because for miles in every direction this is acid heathland. It's quite incredible, really. So today, something that was built in a time of war has become possibly a symbol of peace. This is the Atlantic Wall, Hankley Common in Surrey. This has been Mick, Hampshire Outdoors and Survival. Hope you've enjoyed my little video. Hope it makes sense, because it's been a real pain to actually film. We're under a flight path here, so literally every 2 or 3 minutes it'll be a plane going over. What can you do? But hopefully you've enjoyed it, and hopefully you can give a thought to it. Now, there are 5 locations of Atlantic walls that were built in the UK. There was one in Perthshire, there was one in Pembrokeshire, there was one in Sussex, no, it's not Sussex, Suffolk, sorry, one in Essex, and here this one in Surrey. That's the 5 we know of. There were possibly others made, and built around the UK that have never been found, never been unearthed, because this was built in utmost top secrecy. Okay, and in fact some of the places public access wasn't even allowed until the 80s. So, a bit of interest for you. Keep your eyes open when you're walking about, you never know what you're passing. This has been Mickey, Hampshire Outdoors and Survival. Hope you've enjoyed the video, hope it's all made sense, hope it all comes together in the editing. Love those you do, forgive those you don't, and as always, peace and light be upon you all. Catch you later, Mickey out.